Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. So for the purpose of this video, I'm going to be calling this film that just to not confuse it with the other film that came out earlier this year. And of course, this by no means is a comparison between the two films because they're both completely different. And I know Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio is a film that's been a long time coming because it's been in development for years. There's been rumours, there's been speculation, there's been distribution rights and all those things. Finally, Netflix acquired it. And I thought to myself, this is going to be something pretty special because I'm a big fan of the tale of Pinocchio in general. Not just because of the animated Disney film, but just the general tale. It's a nice homage to Italian culture, while also having a very, sentimental message within the story. And because the film has been made by Guillermo del Toro, there were a lot of high expectations for this, especially as it's his first ever stop-motion animated film. And I think when you have a director who's well known for certain other things, like your fantasy and your horror, like Guillermo del Toro is, it's going to be something that was quite a risk in some way, but also very intriguing as well to see how he was going to, envision his style into this film and why he was holding on to this project for such a long time to go and release it. So I think there was a lot of expectation for this one and I was really, really excited for it. It was probably one of my most anticipated films of the year. In this dark reimagining of the classic tale, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio brings the titular boy to life unlike any other film before. With the help of his conscience, Sebastian J. Cricket, and his father Geppetto, Pinocchio will learn what it is to be human and see the world's many paradoxes of life, all against the backdrop of Mussolini's fascist Italy. So in contrast to what people may be expecting from this film, it really wasn't going to be this very enlightening and very, uplifting tale of Pinocchio like we got in the remake of the 1940 film. But here, it's something more that goes a whole lot deeper. And what I mean by that, it goes into the relationships a whole lot more, which is where it probably is more faithful to the original tale, because we've got a lot more context into certain characters in this film, especially like Geppetto and also Pinocchio himself. And the story within this particular adaptation is very emotional. It can trigger so many different emotions. It can make you cry, it can make you scared, it can make you feel unsettled, particularly as it focuses on the Italian fascist era from the Great War in the lead up to the Second World War. And I think the choice of having the fascist era of Italy in this story was quite interesting, especially when the original tale is set in the 1800s. In that respect, Del Toro puts his own stamp on it because of course he's well known previously for including a wartime period within a story, but having a sense of imagination on the side. So I think the inclusion of Mussolini's fascist era in Italy was fundamental in telling that story and really kind of giving us that kind of fine balance between it being appropriate enough for children but also being engaging and sentimental to adults as well. And I love the themes and motifs in this film as well, especially the Jesus Christ cross that was being built by Geppetto. And just watching it, you could just feel the parallel between the Jesus cross and Pinocchio in terms of how people respond to Jesus on the cross and worship him, while also look at Pinocchio as like a freak of nature, while they're both made of wood and one's alive and one's actually, dead and not moving because of the Jesus figure on the cross. So that's another reason why it's still very thought-provoking for the audience. But that being said, it still had its quite enlightening moments that would, make you smile, especially like the musical numbers, which I thought were absolutely brilliant, and they really drove the narrative forward, and, they were just a very charming part of what was actually quite a dark and emotional story. So as well as the intriguing narrative, I thought the production values in this film were absolutely amazing. They really were, and you wouldn't expect anything less from a stop-motion animated film anyway, but because it's Guillermo del Toro, he really brought a very unique visionary style into this film that made this adaptation particularly refreshing. And like I said earlier about how Del Toro really kind of put his stamp on the narrative in terms of making it his own, he kind of does the same thing here with the stop motion animation style because of how similar it looks to other films that he's done in the past. In many ways a bit like what Wes Anderson has done with Fantastic Mr. Fox and Isle of Dogs. And I just loved how it was filmed as well because, the style of the characters was very unique, which is a massive advantage for stop motion animation. It was also a nice homage to Italian culture, and there is something about this film that not everybody is really familiar with. We know that the film is called Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, and of course we're going to naturally assume that he's the one who takes charge of the film, but it was also directed by another filmmaker, and his name was Mark Gustafsson, who was making his feature film debut, and his previous work before this film was particularly animation, so I think it was good that Del Toro had someone alongside him who was experienced in animation to give us the vision that he wanted for it. And to a certain degree I kind of feel sorry for him because he won't get the credit that he deserves compared to Del Toro. A bit like how Henry Selick doesn't quite get the recognition for The Nightmare Before Christmas because of Tim Burton. So as well as the narrative and the production, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio has an absolutely fantastic fantastic ensemble cast, and they absolutely did an absolutely superb job in their vocal performances. First off, we had veteran actor David Bradley in the role of Geppetto, and we got a lot more of an understanding of Geppetto and why he's lonely and why he feels so, you know, isolated from society, that he is more than just a wood carver. And this film goes a lot deeper into explaining why Geppetto wants to make this wooden boy. And I really like David Bradley's vocal portrayal of the character in this film, because he really gave us that heartwarming feeling about Geppetto, despite having a very unusual appearance, because of how filmmakers designed the characters through their own unique stop-motion style. And in the title role of Pinocchio, we got young actor Gregory Mann. Now, I think what I truly appreciated about the Pinocchio character in terms of how he's designed, first off, unlike other adaptations that we've had in the past, he doesn't give us the impression here that he's just a boy made out of wood. Instead, it's more like it's pieces of wood that have come together to make him look like a boy. And the design of it works in a film like this because filmmakers usually have the freedom to create anything they want in any kind of style they wish. Hence why certain details in terms of how the character is designed appears something very different and somewhat more natural to wood. And Gregory Mann voices another character in this film called Carlo, who is of particular significance in this story as well. Now, a casting that I thought was an absolute match made in heaven was Ewan McGregor as Sebastian J. Cricket. And again, in terms of the design of the character, Sebastian J. Cricket actually looks like a cricket this time, because yes, he had certain specific details that made him somewhat human, he also just acted like a cricket and how it behaved. And I thought Ewan McGregor's vocal performance in this was absolutely amazing, it really was. And I think he's really good in general actually at vocal performances, and also as a narrator of a story, which is what Sebastian J. Cricket served as in this film. And I think through both the general Sebastian J. Cricket character and how the character narrates the story, you could just feel and hear how expressive Ewan McGregor's performance is in getting into this character and how he tells such a compelling story. I also really like the design of the wood sprite character, who was voiced by Tilda Swinton. And even that was very different, but it gave us a bit more of a supernatural feeling in terms of its relationships between life and death and the afterlife. And I also really like Christoph Waltz's vocal performance as well as Count Volpe. He was someone who was like in between all three of the villains that we've seen in the previous Pinocchio stories into one. And Christoph Waltz's vocal performance was absolutely brilliant, and I thought he was a fantastic addition to the cast as well. So overall, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio is nothing short of an absolute masterpiece of animation. It went very bold in giving us something very different, but it was also very faithful to the original Italian tale. It was also a very thought-provoking and emotional story that both adults and children can appreciate. It was very mature in storytelling and characterizations, and also it was a visual spectacle as well in terms of how it was filmed through the stop motion animation. So I would probably go so far as say that this is probably the best animated film that I've seen in quite a long time. What did you think of Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio? Did you enjoy it as much as I did, or did you not find it was your cup of tea? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, if you're going to enjoy this video, then please hit the like button and subscribe for more, and have a notification bell ticked so you're notified when I upload a new video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care, everybody.